Hello and welcome to week 14 of the college football season. Um, a bit of a disappointing end to at least one of our seasons, but uh, yeah, I mean it's still we're kind of at the end of the college football season, but still a lot good to talk about here. Joey,
Mhm.
how you feeling tonight?
Stomach still hurts, but I am excited about all of the Hawkeye news that I'm seeing on Twitter right now. One would think that
Yeah.
this would be my week of just groveling in my tears because Nebraska beat us, but looks like there's some hope on the horizon, guys. So let's hope. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I would say honestly, the way this week started with the transfer portal, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I was I was getting a little worried about you guys, but then you got a major pickup today, so I'm glad
And,
to hear it. So, but
and
I would say,
like you said, we'll do it later, but it sounds like he's got some connections that are looking for new homes as well. So that would be sweet.
hell yeah, man. Well, we'll kind of jump right into it since we got a lot of actual championship games to go this weekend.
Hmm.
So, Joey, are you drinking some like Metamucil or something or?
No, just some good old ice water. So if you see me
Hey,
run to the bathroom, it's either to get water or go to the bathroom. Hopefully, I don't leave Brian hanging by himself too long.
oof.
Yeah,
Not the takes will not be the only thing that are hot tonight. Then,
you're welcome for the TMI. You're very
yeah,
welcome.
exactly. So, but yeah, no, I appreciate everyone that's going to join us here tonight or listening on their commute tomorrow morning. But
Mhm.
we'll just like I said, we got a lot to talk about. We'll jump right into it. I'll be honest, man, this one infuriated me. This trivia question I came up with: how many six-loss seasons does Ohio State have in its history?
In its history,
Yeah,
Jesus. Uh,
and
uh,
I'll give you one hint as I'll tell you that they started playing football in 1890. So they've been playing football for quite a while, man.
I'm gonna go 5.
Did you cheat or something?
I didn't. I was gonna say
Yeah,
6. Is it
fucking,
5?
it's five.
Oh, hell yeah.
They have had five six-loss seasons, which I say it that way because there's a lot of times well into the early aughts and stuff, or I'm sorry, the early 1900s that they only played like 6 games a year, or 6 to 9 games, but so and I think total when I've read it, they've had only 13 seasons where they've been 500 or worse.
Wow.
But yeah, 5 times in its total history, 3 times in the last 75 years, and they haven't had back-to-back losing seasons since 1920 in the 1922 to 1924 seasons.
Jesus Christ. It must be nice to be at a school like that. But
We're talking about a school that's their parents, their grandparents, and their great grandparents have all seen success in their lifetime at that school.
right. Right. It's like they're New England fans. I mean, every
Mhm.
single sport wins over there. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I would say so. That one I had in there because I think we forgot to mention it last week during the Iowa
Mhm.
State game, and we'll get to it here about us finally having an all time record here. But yeah, that one frustrated me because on Saturday when we get to talk about the game, you see all these people that Ryan Day just isn't in. He just cannot get it done. It's just a failure of an 11 game or 11 winning season. Just feel sorry for him at this point.
Exactly. Oh my God. You have one loss and you're one championship game slip up by USC or fingers crossed, hopefully not TCU to be back in the playoff. Like, Jesus Christ.
Exactly. So. But
Yeah.
yeah, and say before we kind of dive into our woes here, you got some Cyhawk wrestling you want to talk about?
Yeah, I figured since we're dwindling down the college football season, probably I think we've talked a little bit behind the scenes about maybe switching this and keeping the Thursday nights going and rolling into college basketball and other college sports. But yeah, we got a big Cyhawk series wrestling meet this weekend, Sunday, December 4th at 2 p.m. First whistle will blow on the mats. Everyone, if you listened to the podcast last year for our combat sports, know how freaking heated I got with Kyvan Gadsden being on the sideline. That shit won't happen this year. It is in Carver. It'll be a professional atmosphere. We don't need any of that dumb
Mhm.
bullshit going on. So you'll get the fire, you'll get the flames, and then yeah, it's gonna be a heated matchup. Iowa's coming in at number 2. Iowa State's number 9 in the tournament poll, and then or no, number 9 in the dual meet poll, 10 in the tournament poll. But Iowa's got wrestlers that are sitting out, including Spencer Lee and Brody Teskey. There's rumors that Real Woods might be coming back, and he's ranked number 3 in the nation, so we'll see about that. But yeah, with those guys out of the lineup, Iowa State has a good chance for the upset. So I'm pumped about it. I know we don't need to dive too deep into it, but yeah, if you're looking for more college athletics this weekend, check that one out. I think I'll look it up right now. I'm not sure what it's on.
Did they say why those guys are sitting out for the meet? Just injury or?
Yeah, so Lee and Spencer Lee is still out because of his knees, and then Teskey has some other injury that he's dealing with right now. They both, according to Tom Brands, they both want to get on the mat, but they're holding them back as a coach's decision. What would be sweet is if they either one of them pulled a Sam Stoll and just walked out and said, "Fuck it, I'm wrestling," and that's what he did to Brands a few years ago. That would be awesome again. So I'd be with that.
Is it not a diversion? So maybe they're trying to practice for one wrestler and they get the other.
Maybe that's fine. I mean, I think Iowa State's got a really good lower weight lineup anyway, so I'm pretty pumped to see whoever goes out there go against Iowa State guys.
No, I agree as well. Now it says it's on the Big Ten Network on my end. So that doesn't shock me too much. That's about, other than Iowa, Penn State, that's probably about one of the biggest meets you're even going to have on the network this year. I know Big Ten's huge, but I mean, between the rivalry and top 10 and everything.
Oh yeah, yep. That, and then I mean maybe Penn State, Ohio State, but yeah, otherwise, yeah, that'll be the next biggest meet. If you are looking for something to do Sunday afternoon and want to have a few beers for a Sunday fun day, just throw on the Big Ten and watch some wrestling.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Well, I'd say let's quit avoiding the inevitable here, Joey.
Damn it.
Huck the Huskers did not work. Nebraska beat Iowa 24-17. It only took your all-star on defense to be out. It took a quarterback injury, and it took how many turnovers to win by one touchdown?
Yeah. If you would have seen me or watched me, I guess I didn't tweet very much. I was too busy chugging beers because that first half was not pretty at all. I almost turned it off. And I know I say this every week because the Iowa offense is so frustrating, but I honestly don't think Rochelle has seen me yell at the TV so much. That was a very, very terrible game until middle of the third quarter. And when that comeback started coming from Padilla and that offense, that finally started clicking. But yeah, just came up a little too late. Kudos to the Huskers. I mean, I said it all year. I thought the whole thing was Scott Frost's fault, and I think those players are talented, and they showed this last weekend. I mean, they're a good group of players. They just need to be coached. And we'll cover it later, but they got a guy coming in Matt Rule that will hopefully get them back to at least decent in the Big Ten West, and maybe next year Iowa can start another 7-year run.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Nebraska's getting their swagger back. They're beating people on and off the field.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to touch more on that, but yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. And in our group chat, like usually when it's like, "Hey, your team's losing," I was thinking a touchdown, and in a game like Iowa Nebraska, like 10 points, and then I turned and I think it was 24-7. I'm like, what in the? I didn't even watch any football or any of the Iowa game on that Friday. I was like, what in the hell happened, man? But
right,
you know what? If there's one blessing in disguise, I think this would be enough where they have to do something with Brian Ferentz, because 7-5 isn't acceptable for Kirk. It isn't acceptable for Iowa football right now.
Yeah, it's not good, and it's not the way you want to go out in the season. And if you want my opinion on the bowl season, check out inthezone.studio or follow us on our socials at Heartland Pulse for Twitter and Instagram, and search Pulse of the Heartland on Facebook. But on our new website, In the Zone, I have a blog post about how I think the bowls are watered down and how I don't think Iowa should have made a bowl this year. So if you want to hear more of my opinion on that, go check that out and read that article. But yeah, 7-5 is not a good way to end the year, and for me, I think the season should be over. But anyway, we're at the 6th game bowl threshold, and Iowa lives to play another game anyway.
Hell yeah, man. Well, hey, and again, another game of national exposure. Who cares if it's Tuesday, 1 PM? It's still another game of football, which we're gonna love. We're gonna you throw it in the trough. We're gonna, like little piggies, eat it right up. as much as we say we're going to boycott it, we're going to watch the Meineke 6-6 Who Gives a Fuck Bowl. So,
Oh God, yeah. I hope it is whatever bowl game is on December 20th, so I can leave the whatever branch I'm at that day for my birthday, go to
Yep.
a bar in Corpus Christi, and just plant my face right up next to the screen.
And no offense, get it done early in the postseason, and then you can just enjoy the rest of the bowl season. Win, lose, who cares? You
Yep.
know, because at least at this point there won't be squabbling about Iowa State who made better bowl this year, because one made a bowl and one just got their pants pulled down and their winkies laughed at in this last weekend. So,
Yep, exactly.
oof. Well, we'll move on
What
to
happened?
what's that?
What happened?
Oh,
Iowa State?
oh,
Sorry,
oh.
not to rip him off. I don't want to.
James Draws has definitely hit Iowa State a couple times. This one wasn't even like, if it was a close matchup or good teams, he would have hit us hard. But yeah, TCU just no way destroyed Iowa State. I mean, it was 24, it was 62-14 to end the game. It was 24-0 after for the first quarter. We allow less than 20 points a game, and they had 24 in the first quarter. And I can tell you right now, after watching that offense, I was glad I had my new smoker, because I didn't have to pay attention to it. I knew it was going to happen the rest of the game,
Right.
So, I mean, the one positive for Iowa State in this one, we didn't fuck over the Big 12 with getting to the playoffs. That was like a deep pit in my stomach, as much as if I would have loved it. I would have been, here I am all year, rah, Big 12 deserves to be in, and then my team fucks it up. Would have felt terrible. But Will McDonald, now the all-time leader in sacks in the Big 12 history with 34, above greats like Von Miller. I mean, hell, Jaquan Bailey, he's only a few down on the list as well. So I'm glad he did. Me and Trent were talking about him having this record by the end of the third game, and it only took the whole freaking 12-game season. So I'm glad he got that. Otherwise, there's really nothing more to comment on. I think this game, kind of the same with Iowa losing to Nebraska, I think it's solidified with Matt that we need to do something in the offseason with our coaching, not only our coaching staff, but we have to get into the portal hard, because right now this offense is stagnant. They're not doing anything. What worries me right now is Tom Manning and Jeff Myers, who are the offensive line coach and offensive coordinator for Iowa State. They haven't been fired yet. And we're 5-6 games after the last game of the season. That's what worries me, if they're not going to make any changes. But I mean, frankly, I don't know what to say. Offense looked terrible. Defense did everything it could, but it was similar to the Ohio State game with Iowa. You can only do so much when your defense is out there all the time, every single game. You're gassed. It's the 12th game of the season, and I don't even want to look at the time of possession difference in it. It was,
and you have a good old Iowa boy slinging the rock on the other side. So
yeah, Max Duggan, which he won't get the Heisman love he should, just because he is he doesn't play for a brand, if you want me to be frank, even though he's undefeated. I hope he gets invited to New York, but I don't know at this point. So, Clark, I appreciate you joining us, man.
Hello, boys. How are you?
Speaking of another guy that's got a bunch of Big 12 love, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How about yourselves?
Good.
Did I miss the wrestling talk?
Yeah.
You did. We just covered it's Sunday at 2 p.m. Iowa hosts Iowa State, man.
Ooh, the old Cyhawk meet.
Yeah.
That's right.
Who's going to win?
Well,
it's going to be close.
State, of course.
No. Iowa's got two of the biggest stars out, so they'll probably, it's going to be way closer than if those two are in. But it'll be a good meet. Usually always is.
When will I get to see my boy from Air Force, Hendrickson?
I don't know. When?
I'm going to have to check into that. See what meets they're going to be at.
Yeah. They're packed. No, they are Big 12, aren't they? Yeah. So you'll see them more later January-ish, probably.
We'll see if he can make a run like he did last year. He did great up till conference and finals. So
you might be at the Cliff Keen invite this weekend. I can let you know in a second. Go ahead.
I was looking. Iowa State didn't play him on their schedule this year, or wrestle them on their schedule this year. But Yeah, I mean, I didn't put it in here because I wasn't sure you were going to join, Clark, but I believe it was Kansas State 47, Kansas 27. How do you feel
Correct.
about the Sunflower Showdown?
I do not believe Deuce Vaughn carried the rock as much as I expected. That they had more passing up front early on in the game. I expected just them to feed Deuce the entire game because Kansas has not shown that they can really stop the run all year. But no, they threw the ball well. The old power cats, kitty cats, or whatever I think it's not quite.
Oh yeah, I get it now. Wild cat.
Yeah.
I
It looked like Howard started backup quarterback, so it was not Martinez. So they came out strong, got a win. Hopefully, for the Power Cat's sake, I hope that he's the one that starts this weekend. But for the Big 12's sake, I hope it's Martinez. So we'll see.
I would say, as much as everyone goes, well, TCU wouldn't have won if it wasn't for the third string quarterback. I agree that week. Yes, I think it would have been if you saw what they did to Iowa State in the week before, I mean, hell, TCU, they've held Texas's offense down. They've shown they've had solid defense. I mean, they had a couple, I think, pick sixes versus Iowa State. That ain't nothing to write home about. But the way that they just took care of businesses last weekend, I think they're for real.
I feel like TCU has some of the most 90s, early 2000s looking defensive players that I've seen. Just like full face, eye black, like got the neck rolls, just some crazy looking dudes. Like it looks like they're all hopped up on cocaine, running around just trying to take heads off.
TCU kind of reminds me right now of Oregon. It just every week it seems like they have a new alternate jersey. I love it. It's some. I mean that version of purple and black and silver. I don't think you can make a bad uniform with them.
It's just part of the illusion of the hypno-toad.
Yes. I love that everyone has just gone on all in on that on the Futurama reference. And I think they had like a flag in the back of College Game Day that was purple that had the hypno-toad for it. So I don't know. It feels good that for the last couple of years we've started to get new teams into the playoffs here. With actually proving themselves. But before we move on to the big games, I wanted to talk about specifically our transfer portal, woes and everything else. Iowa State had a couple like backup players. Silas was probably the most notable one. He rushed for a couple 100 yards, and we kind of did running back by committee, but he went into the portal. We had a couple other, I think, defensive players. I really haven't seen anyone join Iowa State through the transfer portal right now. So right now, I think this is the new norm for Kansas State, and Iowa still have a bowl game, so they're not going to deal with it as much. But it's gonna take me a couple seasons to get used to. All of a sudden, these kids are quote unquote quitting. I mean, they're just transferring out. It was just like it feels like the sky's falling. Like, oh my God, we lost our last game, and now kids are getting out of the program. Kids are looking for the playing time that they want and everything else. But Iowa was really concerning me until about a little earlier today, man. I mean, isn't it Padilla's out or transferred out?
Yep.
One of the
Keegan Johnson left.
Arlen Bruce.
Yep. He's rumored to be going. Yeah, there's lots and lots on that offense that are supposed to be leaving. And I don't blame them one bit. I don't blame them at all. That offense was not good last year or this year. So that makes sense. But yeah, I don't blame them whatsoever. But the big news, Cade McNamara, the former Michigan starting quarterback, led them to the Big Ten championship last year, signed his letter of intent to Iowa today, and supposedly he has a receiver with connections that he is bringing on as well. And then the offensive player here in D2 is rumored to be linked with him as well. So, hell yes, I'm all about that.
Can they get an offensive coordinator in the transfer portal too?
That is the question, because we can bring in all talent in the world and it doesn't matter, because if we're still going to run the ball on first, second, and third, and then maybe pass it once every 4 or 5 drives, that's fine. I'll just stop watching the offense.
Was McNamara, was he the one in part of that QB battle in the early season where he started one game, and then was it McCarthy, the other quarterback, who started the other? And
Yeah, and McCarthy has all the talent in the world. I mean, he's a 5-star total package quarterback. He's just a freshman, so that's why that's why they're having the battle. McNamara is coming in as a graduate transfer, and I mean, coming out of high school, he was getting scholarship offers from Notre Dame and Alabama and stuff. So he has skills. I just don't know. I don't think Michigan quite used him right, and I'm kind of afraid the same thing that happened with McCarthy. But McCarthy has more natural talent than McNamara did, so we'll see what happens. But I'm pumped. It's a good start, but yeah, like you brought up a good point. Unless something happens with Brian, we'll see what the hell happens. We'll see what goes.
Man, kid went from scholarship offers to Notre Dame and Bama to now he transferred to Iowa. Golly, it's like watching a kid or someone drinking himself into alcoholism, man. Just what the hell happened? Nah,
I heard he believes he looks best in black, so he decided to go where black was invented.
Everyone does. Black and gold, baby. Black and gold.
where black was invented. There we go.
That's right.
Well, shit.
That is right.
Well, I would say, we'll
Now you just look at my nipple.
There you go. Has Kansas State or Kansas had any transfer portal issues yet, or is it? I mean, they still got the bowl game to go in. Which actually, that was the other thing that shocks me, that Iowa's had transfers out, because doesn't that mean they're ineligible for the bowl game now?
Yep.
Boy, so you might be out your top 2 receivers, at least one running back and a backup quarterback. Is Petrus now out for the bowl game with an injury, or we don't know? Okay, so
as I said in the blog, that's how bad the offense was this year. Padilla is giving up starting in a bowl game to enter the transfer portal.
Let's look at the very positive here, Joey. You could get, other than McNamara, you could see the offense for next year, what it's going to be already. Alexa, stop. Jesus Christ. I don't know what that. I didn't even say anything remotely close to her name. She just starts spewing off.
Sounds like a woman.
Yeah, that's a good cue to move on. The game. I don't really like watching Big Ten games, and that was I caught the end of it, which was the best part, because it was Ohio State finally getting spanked. But Michigan 45, Ohio State 23. I'll just run through the scores here real quick. Tulane 27, Cincinnati 24 before they kicked Luke Fickell out to go to Wisconsin here. North Carolina 30, North Carolina 27, Bama 49, Auburn 27, and then USC took care of business last week of the season, 38, Notre Dame 27. But I think we all know which one we want to talk about. The game. Holy shit, dude.
Yep. I believe there was one person the whole year touting Michigan is going to beat Ohio State, and they're going to beat them in the second half by just pounding it down their throat.
Yep.
Damn, I could not have been more right. I don't care if I miss every single bet for the rest of my life. I fucking nailed this game. Nailed it.
No, you absolutely did, dude. And props to you, because, again, everyone's looking at the shiny Ohio State offense, which a lot right now, with a lot of the offensive friendly rules that they have going on, and honestly, how many people were on the Heisman favorite, from Ohio State, between their quarterback, is it Travion Henderson that's the running back, in Jigba, who was the starter, who was one of the Heisman hopefuls, and then I think Marvin Harrison overtook him. So their cup runneth over on offense. And Michigan, they did the right thing for years. They didn't struggle. They weren't to the program that they are. They gave Harbaugh the last chance to keep building what he wanted, and now they are just taking care of business. And back-to-back years of Ohio State not being overcome.
Yep, and who would have thunk that Michigan, playing for their college playoff, would have to throw 2 long-ass touchdown passes in the very first half just to keep up with Ohio State. That was awesome. So pretty pumped about that. Michigan looked great. I honestly, when Corum came into the game and took his first handoff and went to cut and kind of rolled up on himself, I was like, oh, God, this is going to be a long, long day for Michigan. I knew that offensive line was still going to give them hell, but, man, backup running back, and McCarthy and Cornelius Johnson looked amazing. So yeah, good game by Michigan.
No, it was absolutely awesome seeing it because again, it's what's been our biggest complaint the last few years with college football. Well, let's see, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson. It's been the same teams, and now at least Michigan, if they're going to go back, but it's someone new that's jumping in here now.
You know what my favorite part is, Bryant?
What's that?
There's 4 different conferences in the playoff projections right now. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, what more could you ask for? This is what it was supposed to be.
Exactly. Year after year, you're supposed to be. Hey, this is giving us a chance, and now it wasn't the ad revenue invitational. You know, we were able to actually see a excuse me. We're actually able to see new conferences now, and it's just kind of been nice. And with the Rose Bowl, we'll discuss that a little bit earlier later too. But with the Rose Bowl discussing changing their rules, now we can have a expanded playoff by 24. So next year, I think will be the last 4-team playoff here. But yeah, man, college football is starting to get a little more exciting. It was getting a little it was getting a little old just seeing the same teams, and it's nice to see like the watered down bowl season. But like you said, Joey, okay, it's the Meineke Tire Bowl or the I like the Cheez-It Bowl, but it's like the Cheez-It Bowl, the Gaylord Hotels Bowl. And
give me that Duke Mayo Bowl.
The Duke Mayo Bowl. But it's like when you have to talk about you have 82 slots and there's 79 winning teams, and you're going to have a bowl of 2 5 and 7 teams. Who's going to watch that now? It's only because of the supply, or the demand for football, and the supply is that piece of shit game. I mean, that's the only reason why people are going to watch it.
Well, and if you look at the gates that have been sold for those lesser bowl games, and then all the other stuff that just the TV ratings and stuff, they keep dropping every year because people will get busier and busier around December. So why not save it and keep it Thursday, Friday, Saturdays like we do during the regular season, so these bowl games matter? And then you also are rewarding people for winning 8 games a year instead of rewarding, a 5 and 7 team or a 6 and 6, 500 team. Like Iowa went 7 and 5, and I bring this up in my blog. I don't think they deserve to win. I don't think they deserve to go to a bowl game because of that offense. And that offense shouldn't get to play just based on the coattails of the defense. So, yeah, you can read more.
So the defense deserves to play.
Yeah, but they've already gotten the recognitions with all the award nominations and stuff. I mean, I get why they want to play, and why people are going to say that they should, but it doesn't mean anything. I mean, we're rewarding for mediocrity, and that's not what bowls are meant to be.
Yeah. Now, this is the image. Sorry, it took a while for me to get it loaded up because I was ill-prepared tonight. But we talked last week about which coach you'd rather have, Jim Harbaugh or Ryan Day. And I think this kind of speaks volumes on why you'd want to have Jim Harbaugh. So the last 2 meetings, for people that aren't watching at home, the second half comparison, it was a stat from ESPN. But in the second half, Michigan scored 56 points the last 2 games to Ohio State 17. They've rushed for over 430 yards to Ohio State's 24. You rush the ball to put the game away and burn some clock. 0 turnovers to Ohio State's 2. 0 sacks to Ohio State sacks. That speaks to the line play that Joey's talking about. I mean, that's a coach that's making second half adjustments compared to a coach that inherited Urban Meyer's team, born on third, and who's just literally going, I have all the talent in the world. Why should I have to change anything?
Ryan Day is a hell of a recruiter, and he always will be. I don't think he has great stats that get put up every year by his offense, and his defense seems to be a little lackluster since he took it over. I think if he stays a head coach, if he can mold himself into the Nick Saban, I'm going to recruit you, I'm going to get you here, and I'm going to bring in amazing fucking coordinators. I mean, fucking Bill O'Brien is the Alabama coordinator right now, and he coached in the NFL. Like, if you bring in great coordinators, your teams are gonna do really, really good. So I think that's on him to bring in better people right underneath him.
I have a tweet here about Ryan Day. Ohio State coach Ryan Day will have had likely first round picks Justin Fields, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, C.J. Stroud, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison Jr., Travion Henderson, Chase Young, and Jeff Okuda. I might have said that last one wrong. And he has 1 playoff win and 0 national titles. That's literally wasting talent right there. Like you said, he's got all the talent in the world, and how you don't. I mean, it's inexcusable that even you're losing to Michigan. I know Michigan's a top tier program, but I mean that's how many programs are doing way more with way less. You know, it's the 1% that's just wasting it away, and it's. I mean, I can understand where Ohio State fans are livid because they see all the talent coming in, and they're not used to 6 wins or they're not used to losing seasons. They're not even used to 4-loss seasons. 2 losses or 1 loss this year, and it's to your biggest rival. And I saw multiple people that are saying Ryan Day's done. He's a waste of a coach. We need to get rid of it. It's like for going 11-1, he's the biggest waste of a coach. You're 5th in the playoff rankings. That's not good enough for him.
Right.
So
yep, we'll see what happens with them. But yeah, I can see why Ohio State fans are upset. But I mean, with you bringing up that 5 times they've had 6 losses, like you have 1 loss, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, here, hold on. You hear that's the world's smallest violin? Let me put it next to the mic. Oh, you can't hear it. We don't care about your problems. It's like, remember in Silicon Valley when the billionaire was talking about how he lost all his investments and he's so poor now, he's broke, and it's because he doesn't have 3 commas in his in his bank account anymore. He's in the 2 comma club. He's only worth $980 million. I mean, that's the problem that Ohio State is dealing with. Oh my God, we didn't make the playoffs again this year, which honestly, another thing that the Big Ten is just catering to the all-holy Ohio State. They're getting rid of divisions now, Joey.
I mean, they're bringing in a bunch more teams. So I'm okay with getting rid of divisions and having rivalry games set, and then you just rotate every year. I like that a lot.
Whatever is going to get, whatever we can change the rules to get Ohio State and Michigan in that title game every year. That's what they're looking for. Well, I mean, they don't care about Penn State, though, who only lost to those 2 teams either. But
I was going to say, moving forward, they can have Michigan and Ohio State play twice back-to-back. Yeah, that'll be cool.
But then if one wins one time and one wins the other time, they both have to make the playoffs then, right? Because it's only fair because they only lost to one another.
Right, and then you automatically get a 3rd team in from the Big Ten because they have to be, 3rd best in that conference, and if the other 2 tie, that automatically makes them number 2. So all the convoluted math. Yeah. That's how we do math up in the Big Ten.
It's transitive power, my friend. Well, we can't just have what team that lost. That's the speaking of speaking of
you gonna say something?
Penn State. Yeah, sorry, I was blanking on the team. So we've talked about how the Rose Bowl was whoever doesn't go to the playoffs between those 2 goes to the Rose Bowl. I've heard there's rumors now that the Rose Bowls think of inviting Penn State because this is the 3rd time in 4 years that Ohio State would go to the Rose Bowl, and they didn't sell their tickets last year, so they're kind of pissed about having open seats and not making enough money. They're going to invite a school that hasn't been there in 6 years that still has, whose only losses are to Michigan and Ohio State, inviting them into the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, not only did they not sell their tickets, but they also had first-round picks last year. So you're going to start seeing that come into play. If that actually happens with the Rose Bowl, you're going to start seeing bowls pick them. And if we strip down the amount of bowls, all the money has to go somewhere. They're going to start making players play throughout the whole season, and that's going to come with NIL contracts.
Yep.
Watch that.
Oh, I think because we've talked about it can't be that's I guess the tricky thing because it can't be performance based. You have to pay them just based on their image and likeness. I wonder if you can make stipulations like with the games played.
Yes, because you have to. All they have to do is say your name and likeness has to be in every game that your team plays. Otherwise, you don't get paid this certain amount of money, and you breach a contract.
Can you prorate it potentially?
Possibly.
You could lose hey, you don't play in the 1 game a year that we're going to have a larger national audience. We can prorate it where you lose 30% of your total deal because you didn't play in. What would it equal? 8% of your games or something? The one, postseason game.
Yeah, or they could just make it so it's a breach of contract if you don't play in that game, or They could
Mhm.
backload the contracts where if you make a bowl game, you get this X amount guaranteed. And if you
Mhm.
make a bowl game, the rest of your NIL's there, and it could be like double it or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, that's something to keep an eye out for the contracts. But I think they have to make that stipulation at some point.
Yep. Nope, I agree, and I think it's only fair because how many? I mean, it was wasn't it Miles Brennan for LSU? It's like he had like the Raising Cane's $1 million NIL, and he got the bag, and then he was just like, you know what? Actually, I'm retiring from football this year, and then it's like, so we have to pay a guy that didn't do anything on the field. I don't know if that one went through, but I know it was like Spencer. Well, Spencer Rattlers, he just got benched the year before for Raising Cane's. Who will be the Raising Cane's player that fucks over the company and just steals a shit ton of money from him before the season is the next question.
Raisin Cade McNamara.
Ooh, Raising Cade McNamara, I like it. There's like one location in the state of Iowa, so that it'll definitely be profitable. Everyone will be flying to West Des Moines.
I could see it.
So, anything on the other big games? I didn't catch most of them, to be honest. And the big one was the game.
Yeah, Dave brought up that the Pac-12 got rid of the divisions too, and they started that this year. That was one of the most confusing things I've ever seen because Washington played Washington State, and whoever won that game dictated who went to the Pac-12 game between Utah and Oregon. It was so weird. Or wait, was it Oregon State dictated who went between Washington and Utah? It was, again, I'm so confused because I don't remember what the decisions were, but I was watching the late game, and I'm like,
yeah,
this is what happens in divisions. You just have up in the air. This game puts another team into the championship game. Crazy.
Well, that's what happened with Texas this year. It would have been if Kansas would have beat Kansas State, and I think it was one other. I think it was like Iowa State beat TCU. It was like a stipulation, but Texas could have made the Big 12 championship game. So, yeah, when you're all just kind of sitting at the top,
And nobody wants that.
Yeah, no, absolutely no one does. The best thing that happened since Oklahoma and Texas said they are too good for the Big 12 because they've been dominating for years is it's been 4 different teams going to the Big 12 championship the last 2 years. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm most looking forward to the next few years where we're going to still have Oklahoma, Texas, and then add these 4 teams next year. I think it's going to be. I want to see like an Oklahoma at BYU Provo game. I want to see all the crazy matchups they can before they leave.
That'd be awesome.
So, but yeah. So I can say we'll finally jump into the playoff rankings. I think I think mostly got this one right. In case you didn't catch the Tuesday show and been underneath a rock, Georgia 1, Michigan 2, TCU 3, USC 4, Ohio State 5, Alabama 6. I think just based on the playoff committee's rules, I think TCU should be at number 6. But I guess that shows how much they hate Joe Milton, is that they put Bama ahead of them, even though they have the head-to-head win.
TCU at number 6. You mean LSU?
I'm sorry, Tennessee. I might have misspoke.
Oh. Okay, I was real confused. I was like, why would you want TCU move back?
No,
that makes more sense.
No, we've already seen TCU jump back to 6th after a huge win by Iowa State. You're not going to talk us into it this time, Joey.
No, I like these rankings. I think it leaves everything on the table, win and you're in type thing for basically all these teams.
I think it should. Clark, what do you think?
I like it for the most part. I kind of feel like I could argue for Michigan even to be number 1 over Georgia. I don't know. I feel like Georgia's schedule this year has been trash. The only good team they played was Tennessee, and they took Hooker out of that game. Freaking snapped him off, and so I don't know. I feel like Michigan has an argument for 1, but I like it. I like the 4 different conferences being in the top 4. So I love that part of it. I'm looking forward to the playoffs if it all stays the same. But that's the only real argument I have in it.
Potentially a Clemson win over South Carolina to have all 5 conferences in the top 5. That would have been kind of cool.
Yep.
South Carolina just out here wrecking everybody's dreams.
Yeah, no shit, man.
Spencer Rattler reinventing the victory cigar. We've not seen anyone do that before.
Right.
Especially in college football in a big game.
Nope.
Especially not from the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, exactly. Same damn division. Man, people were angry about that. It's like the kid kind of he's a heel. He is a big villain, and I love it. and mostly because he's not. We will never play South Carolina, but the kid understands where he's at, and he pulled off two of the biggest victories at the end of the season with Tennessee just smothering them, and then they beat an in-state and a playoff dominant team in Clemson. They weren't the Clemson of past, but I mean they're still Clemson, and they were 10-2 this year. I mean, you can't knock them for it.
Yep. He's more of a not so nonchalant Baker Mayfield, in my opinion. Like, he loves playing the heel, and he's more forcibly like in your face about it. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Nope, I agree, and I'll agree with Clark. I think Michigan has the argument that they could be number one, and if they dominate Purdue and Georgia struggles with LSU, which when we get to our picks, that might be what one of us is picking here, but I think that's about the only change that I can see in the playoff rankings right now, other than I think if TCU still loses, they're in, because Kansas State is a tough team. They have 3 losses, but Kansas State is tough this year. And I think the only one that could change, and if USC loses again to Utah and it's convincing, I think you put Ohio State in. But I don't think Bama, Tennessee, anyone below that deserves in the playoffs. Ohio State's got the only legitimate argument with 1 loss.
Yeah, and Michigan's argument for number 1, they have 2 top 10 wins. They looked great, just smoked Penn State, and then we saw what they did to Ohio State last weekend. So I feel like they just looked dominant against good teams, whereas Georgia's game was a great game, but it was close, and it was like a 23-17 game. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like Michigan Wolverines look like the better team out there to me.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. The one good thing about them being 1 and 2, they really don't have a home field advantage for anything, and neither one. I mean, it doesn't mean a lot because they're not going to play each other in the first round if they both take care of things this weekend. Now, say Michigan loses or Georgia loses and they play each other in the first round, like that could be kind of cool and crazy. But yeah, that's one good thing about them both being 1 and 2. They aren't going to see each other really till the championship game anyway.
Now you got me excited, Joey. I'm glad I'm wearing sweatpants here, because you're saying if Georgia and Michigan lose this weekend and TCU wins, they're the number 1 seed?
I mean, they'd be the only undefeated team. So
Michigan's going to lose to Purdue. How's this going to happen?
Charlie Jones, 5 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah. Iowa finally gets revenge on Michigan from last year by transferring their best wide receiver out and putting him on Purdue.
It's the best way to do it.
I see the long con that's been going on.
Hell yeah. It's just all Jim Harbaugh troll, that's for sure. The one thing I am worried about, and TCU should be in no matter what.
Yep.
And I say should, because we all know who's looming at number 5 and number 6. If TCU loses, I don't want to be on the podcast next week if TCU loses and doesn't make playoffs.
You'll see tiki torches and pitchforks behind me go rabble, 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 and we're gonna storm. Does the college football playoffs have a Capitol? We'll storm that. But it is
Lisa Renz's house or something like that.
Yeah, at whatever Hilton hotel they're at in that conference room. But
if let's just say Georgia loses to LSU, which could happen. LSU's got a solid squad.
Yep.
All right, Michigan. I feel like Michigan's going to smoke Purdue. It's just going to happen. TCU gets taken by K-State, and Utah repeats against USC. Do we just slide Michigan to the top and keep those other 3 the same?
I think so.
Yeah.
They're all just 1-loss teams, right? Well, USC would be 2 losses, but they played in a championship.
But so does that – do you want to keep a 2-loss USC team that's lost to Utah twice out or in compared to Ohio State jumping them?
Yeah, because
I don't know.
Screw Ohio State. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that's literally the only argument why I'd say 2, but it'd be tough to have a 2-loss.
I don't think USC will lose to Utah this weekend. I don't see that happening. I feel like it was pretty early, wasn't it, when they played?
I think it was their first Pac-12 game. Yeah.
I'm just going. It was early. USC still, coming together. We've seen Caleb with grasp of that offense and just explode. He's looking like a Heisman favorite at this point. I don't see them losing this weekend.
Yeah.
But Yeah,
So,
it's been 7 weeks since that happened.
Joey, I don't know how long you've been following James Draws on TikTok, but his greatest what happened was when USC lost because he's a huge Oklahoma fan.
Oh, I
So
didn't know that.
he's a Oklahoma State and like Chiefs and Cowboys fan. So
Yeah.
like all of their opponents, he will go after like none other. But if USC loses this weekend, that might be the greatest what happened TikTok of all time. He will be more excited than I've ever seen him in his life. But if you have some time tonight, Joey, just look up James Draws USC, and it's the best one that he's ever done.
Hell yes, I will do that tomorrow for sure while I'm on the plane if I don't do it tonight.
Hell yeah! So. But yeah, well, I don't think there's any more on this one. Like I said, we got to play the games at this point, but it will definitely be frustrating after years of, I think we can all agree TCU getting kicked out in like one of the first playoffs was bullshit. And then towards the end, once we have all these rules established and we're seeing other teams that didn't make their conference championship slip in because now they're not being penalized for playing the extra game. BS,
Right.
That's where I'd be completely fine even if they all lose. The top four stays the same, Sorry, Ohio State. I guess when you don't have divisions, you can play for your conference championship a game. Until then, win your division. You know the rules. You stack the deck. You're the 1%. Sorry, 1 year you didn't get to go. Cry me a fucking river. So, I don't think we'll have too much longer to talk on this. Heisman, I mean, Caleb Williams, it's his to lose, I think. And he could lose it this weekend, potentially. But, I mean, is there anyone else that's even competing with it right now?
CJ Stroud is up there, but he's not playing this weekend. Yep. The only person that's competing with him is Max Duggan. And we already mentioned that he's not getting Heisman love that he deserves. I think I would love to see Duggan put up a huge game against Kansas State and jump Caleb Williams. That would be amazing.
You know who legitimately is not getting the love for the Heisman is, and he's not playing this weekend either, but Michael Penix for Washington.
Yeah.
Who used to play for Indiana.
Yep.
He has just had silent. We've been talking about the last few weeks. Oh, maybe Bo Nix will slip in there. Bo Nix isn't even in the top 5 in passing. Michael Penix leads the country with 4,300 yards passing. Let me see if I can pull
playing for the wrong team.
Yep. 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Leading the country in QB play. And we're talking about let's see, Drake May had some hype there for a little bit for North Carolina, 3,800 yards, 35 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I mean, Caleb Williams, 3,700 yards, 34-3. So he's been more efficient. He deserves to be up there, but it's so weird because if there's going to be I would say the prestige programs in the Pac-12, USC is going to be up there, and then I think you could make an argument for Oregon or Washington. 2 or 3 back and forth, but it's weird that he's at a Pridgett. If Michael Penix had those same numbers at, no offense, TCU or Iowa State, they're not going to get it. But like Washington would be one of the schools I think people watch. They got a big enough alumni base and they got a big enough following that you think you would have gotten some traction this year.
It all goes back to what I said at the beginning of the year. I just don't trust anyone from that Pac-12, and I don't think anyone else does either. And it's hard to watch their games when it's so late on Saturday nights. Most people are passed out drunk by then, or maybe that's just me. But
yeah, most people, i.e., just my experience the last 12 years of my life.
So I'm looking at the Heisman odds right now available on FanDuel. I've got 4 options, and the top one is negative 3,000. So I'd have to bet $3,000 to win $100, and that's Caleb Williams. Yeah. Number 2 is Max Duggan, who's plus 2,000. So. Yeah, there's a big difference there.
Unless Duggan throws for 5 or 6 touchdowns and Caleb Williams
implodes.
Yeah, literally just himself just creates a black hole. I don't think that anyone else wins this thing.
Yeah.
So who gets invited? Caleb Williams, Max Duggan, CJ Stroud, Blake Corum, maybe just for he's injured, so I don't even know if he'd be able to travel.
Stetson Bennett's the 4th guy at plus 10,000.
Stetson Bennett, I do have his stats right in front of me. He's 18th in country at 3,100 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. That doesn't even warrant to be in the conversation. I should have the same odds to win Heisman as Stetson Bennett this year. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest. You play for Georgia, and it's that defense that keeps you in games. It isn't that stellar or not even.
Give me Anderson Jr. in that, not Stetson.
I'd agree 100% too. I mean, it's so weird how they how this is just, and we know it. It's always an offensive player award, and you're not seeing like just an overall MVP award. Like I know Joey would love this, but like, hey, Jack Campbell, you've led Iowa on this amazing defensive run, or Will Anderson, or even hell. I mean, if anyone from Georgia should be nominated, it's golly, I'm blanking on their defensive player, but Bowers, that tight end, the one that is kind of the Kelsey on their team that can.
Bowers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get that one bit, dude. But
speaking of Kelsey, Clark, did you listen to last night's episode?
I was listening to it on my way home with the Patrick Mahomes episode.
Yeah, did you get to my portion where I said something for you?
Yeah, did you hear his declaration?
No, I'm only about 27 to 30 minutes in, so
you'll have to finish it.
I would say, well, for anyone that wants to listen to our Road to 272, it's available on all podcast platforms and live on YouTube. Follow us at Heartland Pulse and Porcelain Heartland on YouTube. But Joey declared that Travis Kelce is the greatest tight end of all time.
Woo woo! Yeah, best freaking tight end ever. I mean, Gronkowski's He's been a great. He just cut his career too short. He went off to sail off on his Bud Light cruise and enjoy life like the party manimal he is. Whereas I feel like Travis Kelce's in it for the long haul. So, stats speak. Gronk's a beast. I'm not saying he was trash. Dude was a freaking beast. But Travis Kelce, he puts up numbers every week. So
Gronk was never a threat for 3 or 4 touchdowns every week, and Travis Kelce is.
No. Put the brakes on that. He was always a threat for 3 to 4 touchdowns because they would get to the red zone and they would throw it at Gronk every freaking time. Like, he was always a threat.
He just never did it consistently. Yeah.
Right, but...
Yep.
No, but
I'm trying to avoid props here. You're
I'm just saying that Gronk was a freaking beast. Like,
I know.
To be in that conversation with Gronk, like Travis Kelce is amazing. I'm so happy he plays for my team because he's such a great guy. But best ever. I'm glad you did not, keep up the Kittle heat this year. So
I still think George, if I'm making a tight end, George is my prototypical tight end. But Kelsey's just so fucking good. So yeah.
Right tight end, right system, right quarterback. He's had a lot of things that have worked in his way, but I mean, you can make that argument with every player in NFL history. Hey, why was Troy Aikman so good? Because he had a Hall of Fame running back and a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Why were they? Because they had a Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, it is a team sport, and they had competent head coaches.
The Hall of Fame coach, Andy Reid.
Yeah, exactly. The GOAT. The
true
GOAT
bring
of
up
all.
Troy Aikman since Patrick Mahomes just passed him this year in touchdown passes and yards.
I absolutely love that Troy Aikman was calling that game, and they could not acknowledge it because he's such a petty bitch. No, I'm just kidding. He's awesome, but you definitely. I don't think he's the type of guy that you bring that up to. Hey, did you know someone just beat your record? The guy that you said will not be as good as you, and then. Also, I'll never get over how Troy Aikman looks like white Jay-Z. Once someone put the side-by-side comparison in that photo, I've never been able to unsee it. Joey, could you pull that up, please?
You know what my favorite part about Mondays is?
What's that?
I can choose to watch the Manning cast and not have to listen to them.
Yeah. Exactly right, dude.
Not having to listen to Joe Buck and freaking Aikman every weekend. It's been a great year. I've thoroughly enjoyed this year.
Joe Buck, I can stand it. It's the ones that always annoy me are like Tony Romo, especially when you're vested in your team and he's calling your game.
Yeah,
he's terrible.
There's several of those guys that just go back and forth. Like whoever's hot, they're just totally riding it, just jamming it down your throat. And if you're on the good side, you really don't notice it. But whenever it's not your team, you hear every time, every single time, and it bores a hole through you, and you cannot stand it.
Thank you, Joey. That is incredible. I will never get over to my day how similar those two look.
Here, I got one better for you that actually pulls up.
It's someone
They're
just made a
exactly
Photoshop
alike.
of them mixed. That's perfect.
Yeah, man. Crazy.
Jay Aikman.
So there's that.
Nothing thankfully with our teams, but the coaching carousel is crazy. Joey mentioned Matt Rule going to the fired from the Panthers, and he's going to Nebraska. 8 years, $72 million.
So is that his contract from Nebraska?
Yes, that is his Nebraska contract.
And that doesn't include his Carolina money that's still on its way, right?
I don't think he qualifies for the Carolina money now because he's taking a new job.
Oh, no way. I was going to say that guy's still getting $40 million on top of that.
Is he still getting paid for his stuff with Baylor? Is that where he was?
Yeah, he was at Baylor before Carolina. So
Is he still getting paid from them?
I have no idea.
Or did Carolina? I would assume Carolina wanted to buy that out.
Yeah, that I'm not sure, to be honest. I just have the Nebraska numbers in front of me.
Yeah.
But Wisconsin, they signed Luke Fickell from Cincinnati. That was the one that completely shocked me. You would think like Luke Fickell, he couldn't do wrong there. He had the program going the right direction. Hell, they're a year off from the playoffs. And then Wisconsin just come up and steals them underneath right as they're transitioning to Big 12 play. But Luke Fickell's getting $7.9 million a year. I don't have the number of years. Ole Miss, they retained Lane Kiffin. I think he was trying to go to Auburn, but it just fizzled out. Auburn, in the meanwhile, signed Hugh Freeze from Liberty, and he was previously at Ole Miss and had those issues with calling escorts and all those all that popped up. But Auburn's going to pay him $6.5 million a year. And then the latest, Tom Herman's going down to Boca Raton for Florida Atlantic. He's going to be the new head coach down there. There's rumors of him and Matt Campbell both being candidates for the Cincinnati job, and he told us earlier this week, I'm not interested in it, and now I can see why. He gets to coach football in a beautiful place and not as much stress. So, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I am worried very much about Nebraska being good again because Matt Rule is very good at building programs. So that worries me. The Fickle stuff, Wisconsin is, I don't think they're going to change much schematically. If they do, that'd be a huge change for those guys. And I think it's going to take a little bit. So I'm okay with them falling off the wagon for a little bit, but I'm sure they'll get right back on it. Fickle's a very good coach. Lane, I'm just going to touch on all since I'm talking.
Yeah.
I really liked Lane sticking with Ole Miss. I didn't think Auburn was a huge step up for him. I know they got a lot more money, but it's still SEC, and you still have to play in that West. So I like him sticking with Ole Miss and building something there. It's showing that he might actually be maturing as a person. I like that. And I also heard Dion, not just with the Auburn stuff, but with Colorado.
Yeah.
Being the only team that reached out to him. So
it sounds like right now Colorado and Cincinnati are the rumored only teams that are in the running for him.
Really? And neither one of those really fit me as like a prime time place.
I think both of them need quarterbacks, and Dion can bring a son with him and probably half those recruits,
I feel like Colorado is more of a stage for Dion. I mean, look what he did with Jackson State. Like, nobody even knew they existed hardly. And then Dion's there, and everybody's talking about him. They got primetime games going. Like, I don't know. I feel like Colorado has the ability and the stage and the position to grow that even more. It just, I think Dion will be able to bring the right guys in. It's just a matter of time, how quick.
Yeah. And you have the lowered expectation. Let's be honest. He's only been coaching for 2 years, but he's been very successful, so I think he'll be fine. But you also, if you're going to jump to the Power 5, you can't do a LSU or Notre Dame or USC where they have the high expectations right away. Going
Yeah.
to Colorado where they're 0 they are very, very bad this year. That anything above like 3 wins is an improvement, So they're going to take it, So if there is a little bit of a learning curve, which I don't know how much there really would be from Jackson State to Colorado, it'll be I don't know, it'll be awesome for the Pac-12, or potentially new Big 12 if we do happen to sweep up Colorado and the 4 corner states. If that continues, that was the big offseason chat, and that's kind of fizzled throughout the year. But I'd say if that picks up again, Dion in the Big 12 of Colorado moves, or even the Big 12 if he makes a surprise move to Cincinnati too.
No, that's Matt Campbell's job.
Yeah. I don't know.
I didn't even want to touch on that. So.
Yeah, I legitimately don't know about that, man. I mean, because that's if there was one job that would have been dropped from I'm going to say lower school right now because they're G5 compared to Power 5, it'd be Cincinnati because he does have ties to Ohio, but I think he's already done that, dude. He was at Ohio with the Toledo job. I think his interest has kind of fizzled a little bit, but it is a bit, like I said, it is a bit concerning that right now, if he's staying with Iowa State and the concerns they've had at special teams and offense, that they haven't, and our offensive line, and he hasn't gotten rid of either one of those two or picked up a player. So to say I wouldn't be like 5 to 10% worried about him leaving for a job like that, I'd be lying to you, But and it's mostly because I just see people make photoshops because we have the black uniform, so they just put the Cincinnati C on there, and it gets my blood boiling. But I don't think he's a threat.
Do they make a hat that he can form that bill that tight in Cincinnati? I'm not sure they do. I feel like as long as Iowa State keeps giving him that super tight curved bill, he's gonna be good.
It's gonna be this. It's gonna have the Cincinnati C on the bill, and he can just fold it. It's almost gonna be an O by the end of it, So yeah, I thought that was funny because it's like it does feel kind of good. It's like okay, good. He does have some interest again. People haven't completely forgotten about our great coach here. So, I would say it'll be interesting to see how those actually turn out, though, especially after championship weekend in the bowl season and stuff. But I mean, with the transfer portal as quick as it has to be, I think we're going to start seeing those vacancies fill up pretty quick. So whoever is last on that vacancy, they're going to be completely behind the 8 ball in this new transfer portal and everything else with it. But all right, last thing, conference championship weekend here. Kind of our pulse pick'ems as well, because we'll make our picks on all 5 games. We deeply apologize to anyone that listened to our picks last week. Joey, you had Iowa covering 10.5 points versus Nebraska. Didn't. Trent had Florida.
Didn't.
Yeah, Trent had Florida State covering 9.5 versus Florida. Didn't. Clark was our sole winner, having Kansas State cover 12 versus KU. I laughed in mine. I had Iowa State under 47.5 total points in that game, and I think that the over hit in the second quarter. And then Ryan had OU covering 2 points at Texas Tech, and they lost in overtime. So I mean, it was a brutal weekend for our actual picks here. But we'll kind of start from the early games here on Friday and then go from there. But Pac-12, you have number 14 Utah +3 at number 6 USC over under 67 points at 7:00 on Friday on Fox. Joey, what's your pick?
I am going to take. Sorry, I'm looking for the thing. I'm going to take Utah. I think Utah gets it done.
Yep.
Oh, we're doing spreads too. Shit.
Oh, you're fine. I just put my spread in there.
No, well, Clark did too, so I don't want to be the only doofus.
Okay.
Yeah, good to get it, Joey.
Idiot.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go Utah money line, baby.
Ooh, I like it, dude.
Give me the balls. Big old balls. But yeah, no, go the gambling stuff real quick. I did notice that Don Play is no longer watching us, so there's that.
he's lost enough money from our picks from that last week.
Probably.
Sorry, I'm trying to get this graphic in there so you can see the whole thing for all the championship games. I think I just have USC covering, don't I?
You do.
Yeah, I have USC covering 3 points. I think since it was such a close game and they literally played to win last week or last time they played, I think that one's pretty simple. I think USC comes out with a vengeance with the playoff hopes on the line. I don't think Lincoln Riley will choke until he gets to the playoffs. So USC covering 3.
I'm also going with USC to cover. This game is at a neutral site there in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. Their last meeting, it was in Salt Lake City, home game for the Utes. It was a 1-point game. Utah put up 15 in the fourth quarter to come back and win that by 1. So I feel like USC, they're hot right now. They're gonna get it done this week.
Awesome. Big 12 game. We have number 12 Kansas State plus 2.5. I'm sorry. These are the AP rankings I just realized from Monday. I didn't put in the new playoff ones, but number 12 Kansas State plus 2.5 at number 4 TCU over under 62 points at 11 o'clock on ABC. I'll just jump in. Actually, it's a sweep. We all have TCU minus 2.5. No offense. I hate Kansas State, so I don't want to see them win. I want the Big 12 to go in. I got to will it in that TCU is going to cover that 2.5 and win.
I'm with you.
I'm with you as well. I think TCU looking for 5 points here. I don't think they want to take any chances whatsoever of 1, losing and not being in the playoffs, and 2, somehow getting built if they win by somebody. So yeah, I think they're going for something. Maybe.
I agree. For the SEC, LSU plus 17.5 points at Georgia, over under 51 points at 3 o'clock on CBS. Joey, who do you got?
I started with going with Georgia in points because I think Georgia's going to beat up on LSU. I think LSU is good for this year. I just don't think they have the horses to run with Georgia. But I also think LSU has a lot more heart than Georgia does. And as Clark touched earlier, Georgia's really only good game is beating Tennessee. And it was not that close of a game. So I think LSU maybe goes down by 21 and then pulls it closer maybe with 14. So I'm going to take LSU in the points.
You feel the same, Clark?
So I am going with LSU to cover that gigantic spread.
Yep.
At least. What is it, 17.5?
Yep.
Again, Georgia's really been tested enough this year. They had the one big game. They played number 11 Oregon beginning of the year. That's the only other ranked opponent they played. They played number 1 Tennessee and number 11 Oregon. That's been it. I feel like those early weeks, you never know what you're going to get. I mean, Georgia was bringing back Stetson Bennett. You had your quarterback. You had Anderson Jr. again on that side. Like, they were solid. They came out hot, ready to go. And then they went to Tennessee, and it was a rain game. I feel like that always gives an advantage to defense. They have a great defense. We all know that. But I feel like LSU has had better games. I mean, they showed they could get it done against Bama. They show they can play tough games close. So I think they cover easy.
Yeah. That's the thing. If this was 13.5, I'd have Georgia covering. But there's too much garbage time that can happen in these college games. They're amateurs. So many things can just happen late in a game where I think LSU can. I would hope they could keep it within 3 touchdowns. But the one thing that concerns me, and I don't know if you guys watch, I mean, they just lost to Texas A&M, who was at the bottom of the SEC. I mean,
got caught sleeping.
Got caught sleeping.
Yep.
I think Texas A&M and LSU are starting to build a bit of a rivalry too, because that was the 7 overtime game. They always have it's just one of those games that's funky. You can't count either team out any year.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think we all consensus LSU covers, but Georgia wins. Big Ten, Purdue 16.5 point favorites. At number 3, Michigan 51.5 points over under at 7 o'clock on Fox. Joey, you're Big Ten. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going Michigan. I'm going Michigan big. I would probably take this at 21 points.
Yeah.
I don't think Purdue's that great. I mean, hell, Iowa beat them, right? I think so. Yeah, and I don't think Purdue's good. So, yeah, I think Michigan stomps them all over the place. And I could also see Michigan trying to make a point and, like Clark said, go up to that number 1 spot. That'd be cool for them, too. I mean, the number 1 home field home team in the championship game. I can't remember. I think the higher seed does. So, yeah. Well, yeah, I think Michigan, I think they stomp them.
21 at least?
Yeah.
Clark, I think you got the same thing here.
Yeah, I do think Michigan might be the best team in the country right now. I feel like they're hot. They're feeling it. McCarthy's playing amazing. I think that they smoke Purdue. I mean, that Big Ten West is pretty hot garbage, and Purdue is the best they put out of it. So good luck. Good luck, boys.
This one concerns me just because I would say that 7, if you can keep it within that, if God, that sounds stupid, but Purdue can just make this a 2-touchdown loss and they cover. I hate these spreads, but I'll be honest, I have Michigan covering as well. I just when you see the talent of Ohio State getting throttled, I don't think Purdue, who again, no offense, lost to Iowa, like you said, and Iowa doesn't have as strong of lines they've had in the past. Michigan, I think, is just going to throttle them.
Michigan's line is maybe the best in the nation. They look awesome right now.
Yeah.
So, and Michael Morris is supposed to be coming back. So, really, really would be good. I think they're gonna just run all over them.
So, Joey, if you, oh my God, Wolverines at minus 20 and a half points, so you'd get that 21-point victory. That's only plus 126.
Really?
You're not even hardly getting any extra money for it.
Damn. Well, I'll put it this way: Iowa beat Purdue 24-3. I had to double check the schedule because Iowa was so hit or miss this year. But yeah. Iowa only beat Purdue 24-3.
Oof.
Yep.
And then we actually finally all disagreed on one here, make it a little more interesting. ACC number 8 Clemson minus 7.5 at 17 North Carolina, over under 63.5 points at 7:00 on ABC. Clark, who do you got?
I'm gonna go with Clemson. I feel like they'd be a one-loss team right now if it wasn't for that buzzsaw that is South Carolina. They came out and shocked everybody here in late in the season. It was a 1-point game. So, I mean, I feel like, again, is it one of those games that you're not really ready for? Like, South Carolina is kind of a wild card at this point. They did lose to Notre Dame, which I do believe Joey was. Did you call that game, or were you predicting Notre Dame to win or to lose?
I was predicting Notre Dame to lose.
Okay, well, bad call, Joey.
Yeah, I didn't do well on
that one. I feel like North Carolina, they've struggled to stay consistent. They just lost the last 2 weeks to Georgia Tech and is it NC State? Yep. And so I don't know. I feel like that's scary to me to roll with them. So I'm taking Clemson to cover.
Joey, real quick before you give your analysis, we'd like to thank you 69XXX Life for joining the live feed here. Commenting, find my hot girls here. We finally got the sex box in. You know it's getting too late at night here while we're recording. So
that's when you know you've made it.
Yeah, that's how you know you made it, is when free sex bots are joining your chat here. So finally. Joey, who do you
Kevin, what are you doing? So I am throwing my balls out on the table. I'm going to go with North Carolina money line. They win this out.
I like it.
Beat Clemson. Yeah. Clemson just seems to be stumbling right now. So I'll take. UNC Day. Mine
are not completely on the table. I have them in my box of briefs right now. I have UNC covering 7.5 points. I feel like that's a pretty big spread considering the offense that's being led by Drake May. Right now, Clemson doesn't know who their quarterback is. I think this is the last time we'll see DJ, but whatever the hell you say his last name. That'll be the last time we see him in a Clemson uniform. I think he's going to transfer somewhere else, man. He just – you have that 5-star that's proven every time he goes out there he can run a 2-minute, a 4-minute offense. I think they just move on from him, frankly. And that's what I don't like about the transfer portal. Now it just feels like NFL where it's just like, nah, we got a 5-star. You can leave now, and you're just done with a guy that you recruited for years,
Oh, man. Why don't you go in and clean that up on YouTube? I wanted to block them. Damn
I
it.
didn't.
I can't find the comments anymore. They must have deleted themselves.
Oh, they're embarrassed to be part of our college football feed. Well, we ain't, damn it.
That's even worse.
Yeah, to hell with your mountains, show me your bush. You got it, Brent. I'll send you a couple pics later on Snapchat. Other than that, I think I have the championship games in front of us for all conferences. I think the only other one that really interests me look at that juggernaut. Iowa State beat Ohio. They're in the MAC conference championship
Right.
here. I think the only one that interests me is just being Big 12 homer. Tulane, who has a chance to play in a Big 12, a New York Six Bowl, which is awesome. Playing future Big 12 UCF in their championship there. I couldn't tell you anything who's going to win or lose. It's probably going to be Tulane, but that early season loss that we made fun of Kansas State for, they lost to a potential conference championship in that one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh yeah,
well, I don't know.
We got Troy and Coastal, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's Troy.
we also got North Texas taking on your old Meeps.
Ooh, yeah, the Roadrunners. Meep. Yeah, I forgot how much I loved them last year. This year they haven't been as good, but they also ruined my Houston being a top 10 team when they beat them in triple overtime at the beginning of the year. So they went down in my rankings a little bit.
UTSA is 10-2, baby. They're 8-0 in the conference.
Hell yeah, dude.
Right. The North Texas Stadium, I drive by that quite a bit on my way back from all my Texas trips.
Mean Green, baby.
I'm torn between UTSA, Meeps, and the Roadrunners versus North Texas, who had Dan McCarney coach there. So I don't know who to pick, man. And then who else we got? Boise State, Fresno State. I don't care. Toledo, Ohio. Yeah. I think that's it for conference championship weekend. I don't know, boys. You got anything else you want to talk about here? That was kind of my last talking point here.
Who you got in the Sun Belt there? Troy or Coastal Carolina?
The Chickens.
The Chanticleers.
Yeah, the Chandeliers. What are they? The Sias? What the hell? I don't know what the
Shots.
Yes. Oh God, I see you. Yeah, it's Christmas time. I still listen to her album. Yes.
I don't know,
Oh,
Joey.
no.
She is actually a little problematic now. I've stopped listening to her other than her hits.
She is problematic.
Yeah, we'll talk about it after the pod. So
Okay, I was like, I have no idea. So that makes no sense to
but
me.
yeah, well, we do appreciate everyone that joined in live today. Thank you, 69XXX Love, for joining us in the feed here. Joe, you want to hit him with those socials quick?
Yeah, find us on YouTube, just like the Sex Bots. Just search Pulse of the Heartland. No, for real, you can find us Twitter and Instagram at Heartland Pulse. We're also back up on Twitch Pulse, at Heartland Pulse. Where's it? Pulse Heartland?
Heartland
I don't
Pulse.
remember. Okay, that's what I thought. Sorry, new to me, damn it.
You're good.
And then just search Pulse of the Heartland on Facebook. And as always, as we mentioned, you can find us everything we do, blogs, our podcast, every other thing that we have on our new home in the zone studio. And you'll also see a bunch of our tweets and stuff. We're starting a Discord community. So if you are a person that knows what Discord is, go ahead and go there and check that out. And if you're not a person that knows what Discord is, like myself, just follow our links, sign up for an account, and then you'll get in on all our information on our Discord channel.
Yes, sir. So, well, we do appreciate you joining, guys, and we'll chat with you next week.